Hi kids, I'm Celestine the storyteller, and today we're continuing the city of Ember. Let's begin now. Chapter 2, A Message to the Mayor. Lana often took different routes between school and home. Sometimes, just for variety, she'd go all the way around Sparks Wallow Square, or way up by the shoe repair shops on Livery Street. But today she took the shortest route because she was eager to get home and tell her news. She ran fast and easily through the streets of Ember. Every corner, every alley, every building was familiar to her. She always knew what she was, though most streets looked more or less the same. All of them were lined with old two-story stone buildings. The wood of their wood frames and doors long unpainted. On the street level were shops. Above the shops were the apartments where people lived. Every building at the place where the wall met the roof was equipped with a row of floodlights, big cone-shaped lamps that cast a yellow strong glare. Stone walls, lighted windows, lumpy, muffled shapes of people. Lana flew by them. Her slender legs felt immensely strong, like the wood of a bow that flexes and springs. She darted around obstacles, broken furniture left for the trash heaps or for scavengers, stoves and refrigerators that were past repair, peddlers sitting on the pavement with their wares spread out around them. She leapt over cracks and potholes. When she came to Hatter Street, she slowed a little. This street was deep in shadow. 4 of its street lamps were out and had not been fixed. For a second, Lana thought of a rumor she'd heard about light bulbs, that some kinds were completely gone. She was used to shortages of things. Everyone was, but not for light bulbs. If the light bulbs for the street lamps ran out, the only lights would be inside the buildings. What would happen to them? What would happen then? How could people find their way through the secrets in the dark? Somewhere inside her, a black worm of dread stirred. She thought about Dune's outburst in class. Could things really be as bad as he said? She didn't want to believe it. She pushed the thought away as she turned onto Budlow Street. She sped up again. She passed a line of customers waiting to get into the vegetable market, their shop bags draped over their arms. At the corners of Oliver Street, she dodged a group of washers trudging along with bags of broken laundry, and some movers carrying away a broken table. She passed a street sweeper, shoving dust around with his broom. I'm so lucky, she thought, to have the job I want. And because of DuPrau, of all people. When they were younger, Lana and Dune had been friends. Together they had explored the black alleys and dimly lit edges of the city. But in their 4th year of school, they had begun to grow apart. It started one day during the hour of free time, when the children in their school class were playing on the front steps of the school. I can go down 3 steps at a time, someone would boast. I can hop down on 1 foot, someone else would say. The others would chime in. I can do a handstand against the pillar. I can leapfrog over the trash can. As soon as one child did something, all the rest would do it. To prove they could. Lana couldn't do it all, even when the dares got wilder. She yelled for the wildest one of all. I can climb the light pole. For a second, everyone just stared at her. But Lana dashed across the street, took off her shoes and socks, and wrapped herself around the cold metal of the pole. Pushing with her bare feet, she inched upward. She didn't get very far before she lost her grip and fell back down. The children laughed, and so did she. I didn't say I'd climb to the top, she explained. I just said I'd climb it. The others swarmed forward to try. Lizzie wouldn't take her socks off her socks. Her feet were too cold, she said. So she kept sliding back. 40 Pen wasn't strong enough to get more than 1 foot off the ground. Next came Dune. He took his shoes and socks off and placed them neatly at the foot of the pole. Then he announced in his serious way, I'm going to the top. He clasped the pole and started upward, pushing with his feet, his knees sticking out to the sides. He pulled himself upward, pushed again. He was higher now than Lina had been. But suddenly his hand slid and came plummeting down. He landed on his bottom with his legs poking up in the air. Lina laughed. She shouldn't have. He might have been hurt. But he looked so funny that she couldn't help it. He wasn't hurt. He could have jumped up, grinned, and walked away. But Dune didn't take things lightly. When he heard Lina and the others laughing, his face darkened. His temper rose in him like hot water. Don't you dare laugh at me, he said to Lina. I did it better than you did. That was a idea anyway. Idea to climb that pole. Let's pause for 1 minute. I'm sorry guys, I couldn't say one word in the book. I just did it because I didn't want to say a bad word. So let's continue. Where was I? Oh yes. And And as he was shouting, red in the face, their teacher, Miss Polster, came out onto the steps and saw him. She took him by the shirt collar and into the school's director's office, where he got a scolding he didn't think he deserved. After that day, Lina and Dune barely looked at each other. When they passed in the hallway, at first it was because they were fumming about what happened. Dune didn't like being laughed at, and Lina didn't like being shouted at. After a while, the memory of the light pole instant faded. But by then, they got out of the habit of friendship. By the time they were 12, they knew each other only as classmates. Lina was friends with Vindy Chance, Orly Gordon, and most of all, red-haired Lizzie Biscoe, who could run almost as fast as Lina and could talk 3 times faster. Now, as Lina sped toward home, she felt immensely grateful to June and hoped he'd come to no harm in the pipeworks. Maybe they'd be friends again. She'd like to ask him about the pipeworks. She was curious about it. When she got to Greystone Street, she passed Clary Lane, who was probably on her way to the greenhouses. Clary waved to her and called out, "What job?" And Lina called back, "Messenger!" and ran on. When Lina lived in Quilliam Street, over the yarn shop run by her grandmother. When she got to the shop, she burst in the door and cried, "Granny, I'm a messenger!" Granny's shop had once been a tidy place where each ball of yarn and spool of thread had its spots in the cubby holes that lined the walls. All the yarn and thread came from old clothes that had gotten too shabby to be worn. Granny unraveled sweaters and picked apart dresses and jackets and pants. She wound the yarn into balls and the thread into spools, and people bought them to use in making new clothes. These days, the shop was a mess. Long loops and strands of yarn dangled out of the cubby holes, and the browns and grays and purples were mixed in with the oranges and green olives and dark blues. Granny's customers often had to spend half an hour unsnarling the rust red yarn from the mud brown, or trying to fish out the end of a thread from a tangled wad. Granny wasn't much help. Most of the days she just dozed behind the counter in her rocking chair. That's where she was when Lina burst in with her news. Lina saw that Granny had forgotten to knot up her hair that morning. It was standing out from her head in a wild white frizz. Granny stood up looking puzzled. "You want a messenger, dear? You're a schoolgirl," she said. "But Granny, today was assignment day. I got my job and I'm a messenger." Granny's eyes lit up and she slapped her hand down on the counter. "I remember," she cried. "Messenger, that's a grand job. You'll be good at it." Lana's little sister toddled out from behind the counter on unsteady legs. She had a round face and round brown eyes. At the top of her head was a sprig of brown hair tied up with a scarf of red yarn. She grabbed onto Lina's knees. "Lina, Lina," she said. Lina bent over and took the child's hands. "Poppy, your big sister got a job. Are you proud of me, Poppy? Are you proud of me?" Poppy said something that sounded like, "Happy, happy, happy." Lina laughed, hoisted her up, and danced with her around the shop. Lina loved her little sister so much that it was like an ache under her ribs. The baby and Granny were all the family she had now. 2 years ago, when the coughing sickness was raging through the city again, her father had died. Some months later, her mother giving birth to Poppy had died too. Lina missed her parents with an ache that was as strong as what she felt for Poppy. Only it was a hollow feeling instead of a full one. "When do you start?" asked Granny. "Tomorrow," said Lina. "I report to the messenger station at 8 o'clock. "You'll be a famous messenger," said Granny. "Fast and famous." Taking Poppy with her, Lina went out of the shop and climbed the stairs to their apartment. It was a small apartment, only 4 rooms, but there was enough stuff in it to fill 20. There were things that had belonged to Lina's parents, her grandparents, and even their grandparents. Old, broken, cracked, threadbare things that had been patched and repaired dozens or hundreds of times. People in Ember rarely threw anything away. They made the best possible use of what they had. In Lina's apartment, layers of worn rugs and carpets covered the floor, making it soft but uneven underfoot. Against one wall squatted a saging couch with round wooden balls for legs. And on the couch were blankets and pillows, so many that you had to toss some on the floor before you could sit down. Against the opposite wall stood 2 wobbly tables that held a cluster of plates and bottles, cups and bowls, unmatching forks and spoons, little piles of scraped paper, few bits of string wound up in untidy wads, and a few stubby pencils. There were 4 lamps, 2 tall ones that stood on the floor and 2 short ones that stood on tables. And in uneven lines up near the ceiling were hooks that led coats and shawls and nightgowns and sweaters, shelves that held pots and pans, jars with unreadable labels, and boxes of buttons and pins and tacks. Where there were no shelves, the walls had been decorated with things of beauty and a label from a can of peaches, a few dried yellow squash flowers, a strip of faded but still pretty purple cloth. There were drawings too. Lana had done the drawings out of her imagination. They showed a city that looked somewhat like Ember, except that its buildings were lighter and taller and had more windows. One of the drawings had fallen to the floor. Lina retrieved it and pinned it back up. She stood for a minute and looked at the pictures. Over and over, she'd drawn the same city. Sometimes she drew it as seen from afar. Sometimes she chose one of its buildings and drew it in detail. She put in stairways and street lamps and carts. Sometimes she tried to draw the people who lived in the city, though she wasn't good at drawing people. Their heads always came out too small, and their hands looked like spiders. One picture showed a scene in which the people of the city greeted her when she arrived. The first person they had ever seen to come from elsewhere. They argued with each other about who should be the first to invite her home. Lina could see this city so clearly. In her mind, she almost believed it was real. She knew it couldn't be, though. The book of the city of Ember, which all children studied in school, taught otherwise. The city of Ember was made for us long ago by the builders, the book said. It is the only light in dark world. Beyond Ember, the darkness goes on forever in all directions. Lina had been to outer quarter of Ember. She had stood at the edge of the trash heaps and gazed into the darkness beyond the city, the unknown regions. No one had ever gone that far into the unknown regions, or at least no one had gone far and returned, and no one had ever arrived in Ember from the unknown regions either. As far as anyone knew, the darkness did go on forever. Still, Lina wanted the other city to exist. In her imagination, it was so beautiful and it seemed so real. Sometimes she longed to go there and takes everyone in Ember with her. But she wasn't thinking about the other city now. Today she was happy to be where she was. She set Poppy on the couch. "Wait there," she said. She went into the kitchen where there was an electric stove and a refrigerator that no longer worked and was used to store glasses and dishes so Poppy couldn't get at them. Above the refrigerator were shelves holding more pots and jars, more spoons and knives, a wind-up clock that Lina tried to keep that Granny always forget to wind, and a long row of cans. Lina tried to keep the cans in alphabetical order so she could find what she wanted quickly. But Granny always messed them up. Now she saw there were beans and at the end of the row and tomatoes at the beginning. She picked out a can labeled baby drink and a jar of boiled carrots. Opened them, poured the liquid into a cup and the carrots into a little dish, and took these back to the baby on the couch. Poppy dribbled baby drink down her chin. So she ate some of her carrots and poked others between the couch cushions. For the moment, Lina felt almost perfectly happy. There was no need to think about the fate of the other city right now. Tomorrow she'd be a messenger. She wiped the orange goop off Poppy's chin. "Don't worry, she said. "Everything will be all right." The messenger's headquarters was on Cloving Street, not far from the back of the gathering hall. When Lina arrived the next morning, she was greeted by Captain Alice Fleary, a bony woman with pale eyes and hair the color of dust. Our new girl," said Captain Fleary to the other messengers, a cluster of 9 people who smiled and nodded at Lina. "I have your jacket right here," said the captain. She handed Lina a red jacket, like the one all messengers wore. It was only a little too large. From the clock tower of the gathering hall came a deep reverberating bong. 8 o'clock! cried Captain Fleary. She waved a long arm. "Take your stations!" As the clock sounded 7 more times, the messengers scattered in all directions. The captain turned to Lina. "Your station," she said, "is Grand Square." Lina nodded and started off, but the captain caught her by the collar. "I haven't told you the rules," she said. She held up a knobby finger. 1. When a customer gives you a message, repeat it back to make sure you have it right. 2. Always wear your red jacket so people can identify you. 3. Go as fast as possible. Your customers pay 20 cents for every message, no matter how far you have to take it. Lina nodded. "I always go fast," she said. 4. The captain went on. Deliver a message only to the person it's meant for. No one else. Lina nodded again. She bounced a little on her toes, eager to get going. Captain Fleary smiled. "Go," she said, and Lina was off. I hope you enjoyed the story. Good night and sweet dreams. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can also hit the notifications bell when my new stories are up. Thank you. See you on my next video.